What if I told you that you can create a stunning winter scene with just a couple of ink colors, a bold stamped silhouette, and a touch of gold? Well, today I'm going to show you just how quick and easy that is. Hi guys, I'm Debbie with Debbie J's Crafting Corner, and today here on the Ranger YouTube channel, I'll be creating a clean and simple winter treescape using Ranger Archival Inks and adding a little bit of shimmer and sparkle. So for our project today, I'm going to start off with some stark white cardstock. Say that fast. From Ranger and Simon Hurley. It's going to give us a really nice finish. And I'm also using, love this, the Simon Hurley Cling Mount rubber stamps. This is Treescapes. This one is going to be a holiday card. So I'm going to pick out these trees down at the bottom for my stamping. Now, I'm in Florida, so I could very well go with with the tropical trees, and that is kind of my preferred one. But this one, I think I want to do a little bit different. So we're going to start off with this. I also want to make sure that I get a good stamping every time. So I'm also going to bring out my Misty. That's going to help me to position everything perfectly. Now, I usually use a grip mat on the inside, but since I'm using a cling stamp, I need to remove this. This is very sticky because this is basically a giant stamp and it is sticky on both sides. So I'm going to put that to the side, keep it out of the way. And let's go ahead and put our stamp in here. I'm going to put that down to the corner, and I'm also going to grab one of my magnets that I've used in the past for this, and I think I actually want to have it out about a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to start it at a 1/4 inch. Now, one thing I do tend to do a lot of is when I'm done, I will most likely be trimming off the excess. So I am fine with that. I think I'm going to start off with, okay, I'm going to start at the bottom, I think. I may have come up a little bit, but I'm not 100% sure. Since this is a cling stamp, it does stick to the top of the lid of my platform. Well, I'm going to use some archival ink in jet black. And I'm going to go ahead and add that down onto my stamp here. Since this one is archival, it is also a felt pad, so you sometimes have to rub it on there a bit to get that ink to go onto your stamps. And that is totally normal. Let's go ahead and stamp that down. I also have a tool that I like to use to make sure I get good coverage. This is just a chalkboard eraser, and it works nicely because it slides back and forth. Well, that looks pretty good, but if you look closely, it is a little bit gray, and I want it to be black. So I'm going to do another stamping of it. We're just going to go over it again. So I'll probably go over it a couple of times to get this row of trees done. Okay, so I think that looks pretty good. So next I'm coming in with some Paradise Teal archival ink. And we're going to blend some of this in. Now, you don't want to use your blending tools that you use for your dye ink or your oxides. You need to make sure that you use one that's specifically for that color family of archival. This is an oil-based ink instead of the water base that we're used to, and that means that you do kind of need to do something separate just for them. Okay, that is such a really pretty color of blue. I'm loving it. I'm going to go a little light down here in our tree line. So pretty. And I think I'm actually going to come in with a darker blue. I do have some Cobalt. The archival inks come in a couple of different sizes. So I have some Cobalt in the smaller size. So I'm going to just put some on my brush here and just come in at the top, just make it a little bit darker up at the top. And right now I have so much of that Paradise Teal that I'm bringing in mostly just that. And you could very well get a different brush for every color that you're going to do ink blending with, but I think this is going to work out pretty good. So I'm just going to come in from the edge and just kind of bring that color down. And I am really amazed at how quick and easy this ink is going down. Okay, I think that looks lovely. I'm going to clean up the ink off of my desk before we move on. So I'm going to do a little bit of splatter up in that sky. This is not a water reactive ink, so it's not going to react to water, hence the name. So instead I'm going to use some solar spray for this. This is in Neptune, and it should wind up creating a little bit of, you should be able to see it over the blue. It's not going to be, it's going to be subtle. It's going to be subtle because it is over that color. And in order to get splatter and not just a spray, I'm going to kind of pump it a little bit so that it fills up the straw in there. You also want to make sure that you shake it well so you can get all of the mica out of the bottom. If you have mica all in the bottom here, that is going to likely clog your straw there. You don't want that to happen either. Okay, so I've got a few little snowflakes popping on there. And I actually got a few bigger splotches, and that's perfect for what I'm going for. I'm going to bring in my Ranger Heat It tool to heat that up and basically give us some drying, because that splatter is going to take longer to dry than pretty much the rest of this. This is a really quick and easy holiday card to create. I think this is just turning out so lovely. And I think I do want a little bit more splatter, but I think I'm going to go with a gold instead. So let me pull out another one of my solar sprays from Simon, Hurley, and Ranger. So this one is Golden Hour. We're going to do the same thing, just pumping it a little bit to fill that up. And then I'm going to just, there we go. Oh, I'm loving that. Loving that. Okay, so now I'm going to heat that one up, and we're going to dry it too, just like we did the last time. And our card is almost done. This is just so pretty. For the sentiment, I went back into one of my older stamp sets, but thankfully it is still available, which is awesome. This is the Simon Hurley Sketched Christmas stamp set. I'm just going to grab the Merry Christmas out. Okay, so I'm going to use an anti-static powder tool over the whole panel, and let's use a magnet to hold it down. And let's decide, where do we want to have our sentiment? I think I'm going to go right up over here, kind of right above those trees. And we're going to emboss this. So I'm going to use some of my Emboss It Clear embossing ink from Ranger. Just add some to it. And we do want to do a light tap to put that down onto there, because we do have a really tiny little sentiment there. The Mary is tiny, and we want to make sure we don't get, I'm going to have to stamp it again because I can't see where I got anything on there. Let's go one more time. Be really gentle. I think I've got enough embossing ink down, so let's see how that one does. I'm going to cover that in some ultrafine, super fine embossing powder from Ranger. And I'm going to say that that looks pretty good. I do need to put a little bit more over here for the Christmas, though, the end of the A and the S. There we go. So we're going to go ahead and heat that up with my Wagner heat tool. Now you can try to do this with your heat it tool, but it may not work as well because it just doesn't get quite hot enough. It looks like I do have a little bit that was probably wet when I put the embossing powder down, like right from that little bit of sparkle there. So I'm going to actually just wipe it off a little bit to get that little bit off of there. And I think that's going to be good enough. This is handmade, not Hallmark, so it doesn't have to be 100% perfect. And I like to heat from the bottom to start off with. That way I don't accidentally blow off some of the embossing powder. A lot of times I'll still come back up and do the rest of it over the top, but a lot of times you can just heat it up straight from the bottom and get that magic to show up. Isn't that just lovely? So we have our Merry Christmas there. And I think, you know what? I think I actually want to have a little bit of gold splatter on here too from the embossing. So here's a trick that I learned at one point. I think is really cool. I'm going to use my Distress Sprayer. It's just water. So we're going to use this. I'm going to add a little bit of splatter on there, basically the same way that we did with our solar sprays. Okay, so we're going to just add a little bit of that. And so now we have some wet spots on our card, and I'm going to just add some embossing powder over the top. And now we have some gold splatter in there too. And I think that's probably all that I want to do. I think that's enough. Let's go a little bit up here at the top a little bit. It's going to make a little bit of a golden spots and golden glow up in the top. And if there's any parts that you don't like, you can always get rid of some of that embossing powder with just a dry brush. So I'm making that spot a little bit smaller. I think I'll do the same thing with this one. There we go. I'll go ahead and heat that up just like we did before. So if you get a little too much water on there and you don't like it, you can always fix that. Oh, I think this turned out so pretty, but I think I'm going to actually add just a little bit more. Let's add a little bit of Stickles. This one is in diamond, and I think that this gives a really nice, I don't know, kind of a vintagey look when I have added onto my cards. I almost don't want to touch anything, so I'm going to just add a little bit. First, I test it and make sure that it's coming out before I actually add it to my card. I'm just going to add a little bit in places to start off with and then see, do I want to add any more? I think I do want to have some shimmer on my little trees. That is looking cute. Yes, I love this. So this is a really easy way to add just a little bit of extra to your cards. Just add a little bit of sparkle, and that just always basically tops everything off. I love that look. Okay, so I'm going to say that is going to finish up our card for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit the like button if this was something that you enjoyed. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the Ranger YouTube channel for more ongoing inspiration using some wonderful products from Ranger. Yeah. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, guys.